Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Mainstream Mondays on Horror Film Lovers. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody. I'm here with my co-host, John Ward. How you doing, John?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How about you?
Was that supposed to be some kind of reference to the movie we're doing?
No, not at all. I'm just doing motions on the screen. I'm just motioning in and motioning out.
Oh, okay. I'm
out.
Doing fantastic. All right. I'm a little confused, but all right, let's begin the show. So we reviewed the last movie we reviewed was The Faculty, and we're in our same shirt, so we did it the same day. I don't give a fuck.
Secrets.
But hey, it's the way to do it. So we're gonna here talk about Cursed, which was Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven's movie after Scream, the Scream series, and they hadn't done anything since I guess Scream 2, really. The Scream 3 he was only story credit for, but and then this movie was literally cursed from like the get-go. There was a lot of studio interference from what I've understood. There was there was times where there was a whole nother film that was made and then they cut it down, and from what I understood, God, we're just talking about Faculty. Jesse Eisenberg, his character was not in the original as much. It was more about Christine Ricci and her character, and
and Skeet was in it. Skeet Ulrich was in it and has been completely removed from this version.
Yeah, was Joshua Jackson in it still?
That I'm not sure. I think you were the one who mentioned that the editor of Cursed, who's a well-known editor with Miramax,
Patrick Lussier or something.
Yes, who also did like Dracula 2000 and My Bloody Valentine 3D.
And my favorite movie of all time, almost, Drive Angry.
Oh, love Drive Angry. Yeah. Love that film.
Fantastic.
And so good director, good editor. I mean, this is a guy that you trust. I think that you put up the article or something that said that he has a copy of the movie.
He has a copy of the
original movie that was pulled, or that was never released, and because of copyright reasons, they can't release it. This is where Shout Factory, or Scream Factory, actually made a huge mistake. So they announced, "Oh, we're going to be releasing on Blu-ray the director's cut of Cursed." Applauds everywhere. And then they went, "Oh no, we made a mistake. No, it's not the director's cut. It's the unrated version, which is this."
Yeah, so you watched,
and then everybody went boo, because they misworded it, which is true. This is not the director's cut. This is just an unrated version of the movie. The director's cut has yet to be seen, so they had to retract that immediately.
There ever is a director's cut, because I don't think Wes Craven actually liked this movie, and I don't think he was happy with anything.
I don't blame him. This film is a mess. I think it is probably, except for maybe the vampire movie that he made with Eddie Murphy.
Vampires in Brooklyn.
Vampire in Brooklyn. I think this might be his second worst movie. Or maybe even his first, because it's such a mess. And apparently the audience thought the same way. This film came out in 2005. Its budget was $75 million.
Jesus.
75 M. I mean, Jesus. And the movie only made 26.9 million. So that tells you right there that even after Scream and all this stuff that both Wes and Kevin Williamson did.
Why did they need that much for this?
Because they reshot 95% of the movie.
Oh, that's true. So they doubled it from basically, but even then, they don't need, they should have only needed like 30 million, or whatever, because their first movie, Scream, was $15 million. Faculty, $15 million. fantastic movies that did not need a huge budget. If this was $15 million to originally, and then they, whatever. But the fact that it was probably 35 million each, or whatever, or to like make this, I just
figure Wes Craven was then a hit, right? He was not the master until Scream came out. So he was kind of the master when Nightmare on Elm Street happened. And then, but he could have been a one fluke guy. And then he did Scream. And then boom, he was the master of horror. And then Kevin Williamson was nothing until Scream came out. And then boom, he became the screenwriter. And then all of a sudden, people were looking at the script for Scream online to how to write a successful slasher film. So probably a lot of the budget just went to them.
I hope not. Because, like, no offense, they're a fantastic writer and director, but they, they should be getting just as much as they've been getting, if not just, you know what I mean? Like, because
you have a hit, your check goes up. This has always been my theory, and I think that Hollywood's never followed this, and they should. Your movies should be like grades in school. If you get an A, you sit at the head of the class. If your next test is a D, you move back. If your next film is an A, you move up again. If your next test is an F, you move back. So if Scream is a hit, you move forward. You get paid more. You're more, if you make a movie like Cursed that costs $75 million and it tanks, you go back. You get paid less for your next movie instead of more.
Really do that. They can't really do that. Now, I don't think you deserve more, but I don't think they can really go, oh man, your last movie was such a bomb, we're going to pay you less money. Then I think they'll pay them just the same. And that's why a lot of times they don't hire these people.
Well, now this is a complete apples and oranges comparison, but somebody like Demi Moore, when she had her hits, like, Indecent Proposal, Ghost, stuff like that, boom, she skyrocketed in pay. Then she had a bunch of bombs and she still got paid more.
Striptease was a bomb.
No, it's a beautiful movie. It is a beautiful movie about a woman with fake breasts that dances on a stage.
I think you're talking about Showgirls, but okay.
No, she does. She has that. Demi, that was the big joke when it came to the Scarlet Letter that she was in, is that critics are going, wow, it's good to see that even back then they had fake breasts.
Okay. I forgot about the Scarlet Letter.
Yeah, it was very well known because I back in the day, I had a massive crush on Demi Moore, and I thought she was absolutely perfect with the body that she had. And then around Ghost, she got the implants. So
then ruined it for you. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Well, hey man, I applaud her for choosing her, to do what she wanted to do to her own body.
But speaking of actors and all that stuff, I don't blame anybody in Cursed for the film that it's there. I think that they do their best in it. This is definitely a studio movie, and it, either version, I can look at, Christina Ricci for 90 minutes, 100 minutes and be perfectly fine with that. It's one of those things where, because the film is a mess, it doesn't make sense. And I even went back and rewatched it, which is actually why it took me twice to watch it, is the very beginning of the film. We're at the carnival. We have, it's Shannon Elizabeth, and I think it's Maya, is how you say her name, M-Y-A. They go to the fortune teller, who's Portia de Rosso, and she says, she grabs her hands and goes, I see blood, I see blood. Something horrible is going to happen to you too. So then Maya leaves, and then Shannon Elizabeth goes out, and Maya's nowhere to be found. She goes to the edge of the dock, and she yells out the character's name, Becky, or no, not Becky, Jenny. And that goes to the ocean, and we see the moon. That then cuts to Christina Ricci, and then she's driving in the car. Okay, so later on, they get into the car accident. We see that it's Shannon Elizabeth. Okay, so I guess Maya just disappeared somewhere.
No, she comes back. She's the
hold on, right later. So she's not in the car. Shannon Elizabeth gets ripped in half and murdered. She's dead. They mention it on the news, but they don't really reveal like a name. Later, when they're at that big fancy party, Maya shows up again, Jenny, and goes, "Why haven't you called? Becky is wondering what happened to you."
Right.
Becky's been dead.
She doesn't know that.
It's been a day.
It's been a
how
day.
would they not? How would she not know that? It's been all over the news.
I mean, maybe she just didn't hear it yet. I don't
know. Wouldn't they talk? And wouldn't they talk? I mean, apparently they're friends. So the one friend has no idea that the other friend is dead or missing.
That's the only thing I can imagine, because I thought about that too, and I was like, I just chalked it up to that she just, that the girl. Now I get what you're saying, but all I'm saying is I just think that she doesn't know that her friend is dead.
I think it's both cuts of the movie. That's why I say this film is a mess, and why the critics said it was a mess, and why it bombed in the box office is because the movie is a mess and it doesn't make sense. So probably all that stuff at the very beginning at the carnival is from the original movie, and then later that's new stuff. Or it could be Maya that's the old stuff because Shannon Elizabeth isn't dead yet. And, like that type of thing, like that's such a plot hole.
It was sort of annoying to me because, like, we don't really get a death scene. We don't really get her death scene until almost 25 minutes in, or 15 minutes.
Well, and I had to check to see if that was the same person, because if this is now, granted, women change their hair and people wear wigs and all that type of stuff, but I wasn't sure if that was the same person.
Oh, it was Shannon Elizabeth.
No, not Shannon. Maya.
Yeah, it was
because she totally looked different. So if this only takes place over a couple days, like, she really looked different, which is why I think one of those is different footage.
Yeah, and it felt really weird because it felt like she was gone to a costume party or something, and nobody else was dressed up as a costume.
Well, it was that weird endangered species party that they were having, where Christina Ricci says, "I feel underdressed without a tail." Yeah.
Well, maybe it was also she was trying to, stand out a little bit, or whatever.
Well, this is one of those cases where it's like Back to the Future, where they reshot stuff, and every once in a while there's like that Eric Stoltz over the shoulder shot that people point out. We're like, oh, that's not Michael J. Fox. That's actually Eric Stoltz as Marty, because it's over the shoulder, so they don't have to reshoot it. And they've done that now with a couple movies where they've reshot stuff, but they don't have to reshoot everything. I think.
Well, so people like fans of like Back to the Future just go back and look and scrutinize when the fucking over the shoulder shot of Marty, like
they've done that. There's because, and I'll make this fast because we're talking about Cursed, but Michael J. Fox's schedule was so busy with Family Ties. They did Family Ties by day.
I know
he did Back to the Future at night. Yeah, so the fans would. So a lot of the times, if you see like Leah Thompson by herself, she's actually talking to Eric Stoltz. And then they reshot it with Michael J. Fox just talking to like a stand-in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the same type of case with Cursed, is they combined both versions of the movie together the best they could without having to reshoot. By doing that, it's still a beginning, middle, and end, and it has for the most part a cohesive story, but it doesn't make total sense of why somebody like Maya would say, "Hey, my friend hasn't heard from you." Well, your friend's dead. You would think through the grapevine, if anything, she would have found out that her friend was torn in half.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense, because that scene, it might have been in the original movie and Shannon Elizabeth isn't dead. But in the reshoots, because it's with Jesse Eisenberg, or more with Jesse Eisenberg, who does one of the worst acting jobs I've ever seen him do, they reshot some of that, and they added in Elizabeth.
Did you really think that? I didn't think so. I thought just.
I think he's. Compare him to like The Social Network and some other movies that he's done.
Oh, I know, but
awful in this. And I hate that the dog's name is Zipper. I hate it. Why would you name your dog Zipper? It is such a dumb name for a dog. You know, it's like if you're going to if you're Kevin Smith and if you're Wes Craven, if you're going to name the dog something, Kevin Williamson, sorry, then two of your favorite writers, as you pointed out in the last video. Why not name the dog something movie-wise? Why not make the Zipper? To me is such a dumb name. Maybe if it wasn't Jesse Eisenberg playing such a wimp, and that's another thing that kills me about this film. All the women are bitches. The guys are either assholes or total weaklings. Like there's really no alpha male in this film, and every woman is like an alpha woman, and it just there's like nobody to really root for.
Joshua Jackson was an alpha male.
No, not really. No, he was very. No, I would say that he was still beta. I mean, it's just there was nobody in this that really stood out to me as a good man character or even like a good woman character. All the women seem to be battling against each other. Right. I mean, even Judy Greer, who I absolutely love, says that she's happy to be a werewolf to kill off all the competition.
Honestly, okay. So I remember when I first watched this movie, I hated the fact that Judy Greer was the werewolf.
Makes no sense. No sense whatsoever.
And on top of that, what really just irritated me the most is the fact that they do this thing that I see in every Law and Order episode, every Scream does it, like Scream 2 does it, where Timothy Olyphant is in it for like half the movie, but then the other half you don't see him again. So you're not thinking about that, oh, is he the other killer? When you should be, thinking that, because you should be going, where the fuck is Timothy Olyphant when he's, you know what I mean? So Cursed has that thing of like Judy Greer's only in it for like not even half the movie. And then all of a sudden she's the killer. Like, if you're going to do that stuff, I say you need the person close by. You need to have it already be somebody they know and they trust that, you know what I mean? You can't have it be like this random person who was there, but she's just kind of keeps popping up.
Because I think that's part of the rewrites probably is they thought, one, I don't believe for a second that Joshua Jackson is the most desirable man in Hollywood. He's not that good looking. He's okay. He's not handsome. He's an okay looking guy.
He's pacey.
But please.
Come on now.
Please. And
he's
just not. This guy doesn't look like George Clooney. He doesn't look like Brad Pitt. He doesn't look like any of these guys that are considered to be handsome in Hollywood. But yet every woman wants to be with Joshua Jackson. I mean, no wonder he took the role. I mean, it's just like, wow, I'm the most desired man in Hollywood.
No, would be interesting. I think Skeet would have made a better.
I would say so, because Skeet looks like Johnny Depp. Yeah. So, and Johnny Depp is a handsome man. Well, he used to be before he got all weird. But
I guess
I know now he just looks.
Thinks he's
probably, but now he just constantly looks like a pirate.
He likes that shit. He likes dressing up and playing different roles.
But when he was more normal looking, like him looking like Ed Wood.
Yeah.
He was a handsome man in Ed Wood because he was more normal looking. He looked
like Ed Wood, and Ed Wood was actually a
good looking guy. Yeah.
He just was a weird guy, and that so Johnny Depp really felt probably like perfect for that.
Yeah. And some of the casting in this to me was just bizarre, and it just doesn't. And I think that's where this comes in as an issue. One, I do like that Nick Offerman is in this. I think before he was even known, I always loved, like Parks and Recreation and stuff like that. I think he was great. Mm-hmm. Derek Mears as the werewolf. Though. Yeah, it's very tiny. It's before he was anybody. Derek Mears as the werewolf is awesome. Two choices in casting I absolutely hated. Two. One, Greg Kilborn as himself. Never liked him. Never liked the man at all. I don't like him in movies.
I honestly
don't like his show.
I honestly hated that whole like subplot of her working there, because it just it feels so Hollywood. And to me, like, that's the problem with this movie. That might be the complete problem with this movie. So you look at Scream 3, right? Wes Craven directed a movie about making a movie, right? Then the next movie he does with Kevin Williamson is, is part on the set of the Craig Kilborn and like, it starts going, oh my God, can you like,
I think if it was somebody else, I might have liked it more. I just don't like Ray Kilborn. I just think he's just an ass, and there's just that ego there.
Why wasn't Jimmy Kimmel like famous back? Like, he was. He's on Entourage.
I would, yeah. I mean, there was probably a reason that there's a connection between Miramax and Greg Kilborn. That's what I'm guessing, is that there's maybe owned by the same people, and that's why. But the other one is, and at the time I thought it was funny, I don't find it funny anymore, is Scott Baio. Scott Baio, I liked, like, when he was in Arrested Development. I liked him probably when he was originally in this, which was what I think I said 2005. Now today, he's an embarrassment. He's a right-wing nut job that supports Trump, and he's a QAnon a-hole that I cannot stand. So while I'm watching him in this, I'm just like, why is this fucker in this? It just, he doesn't
but back
hold
then,
up.
he wasn't like he wasn't as crazy, or as
he was just Scott Baio.
It would literally be like the dude who plays Hercules,
Kevin Sorbo.
Sorbo.
And I'm saying this because of some stuff going on right now. I cannot support any film that has Kevin Sorbo in it.
Yeah, well,
so it's because he is an alt-right religious nutbag, and so I would not support anything with him in it. These days now with Scott Baio, I would not do that. Ricky Schroeder or Rick Schroeder, or whatever he goes by, the same type of thing. But it's at the time, I guess the Scott Baio stuff would be kind of funny, because even on
Dean Cain, isn't Dean Cain sort of like
Dean Cain is now a total nut job.
Yeah. So
so I wouldn't promote. Fucking Superman is a nut job now, and it's like
happens.
Yeah, when Arrested Development came out, and it was funny knowing that Henry Winkler, the Fonz, is on there, and Scott Baio as Chachi is on there. It was funny. We all liked it because it was, Ron Howard, and it was like a whole Happy Days thing, and we loved it. And then with him being in some of these other movies, before, I guess, 2016, maybe 2015, it was funny, but now it's not funny anymore. It's one of those things where I don't want to watch these type of things with him in it. It just kind of pissed me off while watching it.
I don't care enough. Well,
you're apolitical, as you've pointed out, and I'm very political. So we're like, north and south when it comes to that.
Which is fine. I support my friends having whatever they want to do. If they want to support whatever, as long as they, and even if they don't want to, if they want to be like me and be apolitical, have at you. Because I just don't give a fuck. Now,
I think you're better off. I think that you're probably better off with not doing that, because just this morning I watched my political stuff, and I was getting pissed off,
And it's easy to just go around and just like, to me, it's just easier to do that. Now, even religious stuff, like I'm not a-religious or anything. I'm religious, but I can I can say, if somebody's Satanist, like, more power to you, dude. Like, my religion does not mean anything to your religion, or my spiritualness doesn't mean anything to your non-spiritualness, or if you're an atheist, I think you are, right, or agnostic, something like that.
I'm atheist, 100% atheist, yeah.
And you know what, more power to you. Have at it. Debunk things if you feel like it, but you ain't gonna rain on my parade, because I'm gonna believe what I'm gonna believe, and you're gonna believe what you're gonna believe. That's why I don't really, I'm not putting any of this onto you. I'm putting it just strictly watching the movie and seeing Scott Baio, and it pissed me off while watching the movie, because, as I'm sure,
probably if Wes Craven was still alive, or maybe, you know, Kevin Williamson these days, are probably going like, oh fuck, I wish we didn't have Scott Baio in that movie.
Well,
You know, because Scott Baio is part of the, you know, part of the right that has an issue with gays. And that's a whole problem. You're part of the conservative party. You have an issue with gay people. And so, as I'm sure Kevin, you know, Williamson would probably have a problem with that these days if Cursed was made today.
Well, let's actually get into that real quick. There's a lot of homosexual subtext and a lot of stuff there, and that actually was to me. So after I watched it, I messaged Dustin, our buddy Dustin Hubbard, about this, and he hates Cursed just as much as both of us do. But I was like, what did you ever think about the homosexual like subtext / like pretext, like actual text in it about it and stuff? And he was like, there was some, homosexual, like he doesn't remember any of that stuff because he hated the movie so much. He
probably hasn't seen it in a while. Yeah, if you don't like it, well, watch it. I thought that was all like you get commentaries in movies that you don't realize are like subtext and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like the Night of Living Dead 1968 is about communism. Dawn of the Dead, 1978 is about consumerism. Day of the Dead, which was like mid 80s, is about Reaganism and stuff like that. And then, you get something like Cursed, or Scream is actually even a commentary, the original Scream. And it's, you watch something like Cursed, and like, how many times was the F word used in this movie? How many? I mean, it's just, and I haven't seen this film in a long time, but I really went, oh, he's gay. His character's gay. It's gay. And so it didn't surprise me, but it's very weird of how this whole thing is done. And
are you talking about Milo or whatever? Ventimiglia?
Yeah, the wrestler guy who keeps picking on Jesse Eisenberg or Jimmy.
I never thought anyway that he was like, I did not have gaydar for whatever. I mean, I don't know if I have gaydar or not, but I did not feel like what's his name? I did not feel like Jesse Eisenberg's character Jimmy was gay at all. Like I did not get that feeling from him. And then when Milo's character, I forgot Bo the whole time is like picking on him and stuff. And then I love Milo. Like, I think he is such a fantastic actor. I've loved him ever since Gilmore Girls, which, I mean, whatever you want to call that. If you want to say I'm gay for liking that, I don't give a fuck. But I love that show. That show was always so
I've watched one or two episodes. I've heard it's a good show. So I haven't watched a lot of it. I've seen one or two episodes.
And he's in it. Jared Padalecki had both of them were like love interests to Alexis Bledell's character in that. But like, he's such a great actor. Like, I just love him. He was in Rocky. Was it Rocky 6 or what? Rocky Balboa playing Rocky's son.
That's right. Yeah. He did play Rocky's son. Yeah,
he played Rocky's son, and he's such a great actor. I've just always loved him. And seeing him in this, I forgot, and I was like, this is kind of funny. Like, it was funny. Like, it made me laugh. There's that one. Obviously, the big line in the movie is like, what's great about being a fairy? You get to fly. And I was just like, and honestly, this was Kevin Williamson's kind of jab at the fact that he probably got picked on a lot in high school for being gay, or even if he never was out, he might have still got picked on for people thinking he was gay.
That's why I wonder if this is some sort of like his commentary on being gay, on that. It's because then if it is, then I think it does a very poor job of it, because then they could have done so much more with the Jimmy character that, and it's weird that all of a sudden, Bo, who comes off as an alpha male, all of a sudden becomes a beta male to Jimmy. Once he comes out of the closet, he's all of a sudden
Oh, that's a
he's
good
like,
point.
yeah, he all of a sudden becomes like his bitch. And
It's
you know,
sort of a
like
good point, because then that makes you feel like that maybe coming out, that might actually scare people who want to come out. Like, nobody realizes how powerful a movie can be, you know, when, especially when you're trying to sort of say something with like a lot of meaning and subtext and, you know, all that stuff like into the movie. But like, um if some guy, some kid in high school was watching this movie and was like, oh my god, there's like a gay character in it, like I can, that, you know, was afraid of coming out, you know, oh my god, I can identify that with that. And then they take him from being this really tough kid who that person could have felt like maybe they were tough at that point, to making them sort of like this, like as you said, like a little bitch to Jimmy. I feel like that's sort of the wrong way to go about it. Now, that may not have been just a Kevin Williamson thing. That might have also been a studio thing. You do
right,
know that the Weinsteins produced this movie, and the Weinsteins are very, at least I know Harvey is, you know, was very asshole like, and probably didn't like a lot of the gay stuff in it, because he, you know, like he probably didn't feel like that was the viewers that he wanted to get. You know, he wanted to get more the whatever care, you know, people. That's my opinion, because I think
yeah.
Harvey Weinstein's an asshole.
Well, like you didn't need for the guy to be gay. There was really no purpose for him. I mean, he could just be a bully. And then, you know, Jimmy beats the crap out of him, because that's the great thing. And I think it's American Ninja, you know,
Uh-huh.
from Canon, is you have, you know, Michael Dudikoff beats the crap out of oh god, the I'm blanking on the other guy's name, the black actor who also was in all the American Ninja movies too.
Billy
But the
Blanks.
no. The he, unfortunately, he died, but he was like a 70s actor and all that stuff. But it's not Fred Williamson. It's, I'm blanking on his name. But in American Ninja is their rivals until they fight, and then the American Ninja kicks his ass, and then
Mhm.
he goes, you know, well, now that you've kicked my ass, my name's Steve, and then they
Right.
become friends. And that's how it kind of seems to work in movies, is once the wimpy kid beats up the bully, they then become friends, because then there's that, like that respect or something, you know, like you take
Mhm.
out the biggest guy in the schoolyard to get, and they could have done something like that where the guy then they become friends. So I'm not really
Right.
understanding if this is some sort of allegory for coming out of the closet and being gay and all that, hence cursed, as maybe is how the way
Well, you
Kevin
didn't.
Williamson
Yeah.
looks at it, then why aren't we getting that? And I'm not saying all this because I'm a huge Ryan Murphy fan, and I've watched a lot of his stuff. I did not like Glee. I thought Glee, whatever, Glee was awful. But I enjoy all of his miniseries and stuff. And I just
I
got
loved
them watching like
was it Hollywood? Was that what it called? The
their
one
Hollywood, which is like an alternate version of gay Hollywood.
right.
And that was very interesting. I just watched Halston, and that was really good. And so I'm not picking on this for any reasons of being like anti-gay or anything like that. I'm looking purely at this as far as a story goes. And to me, there just didn't seem to be any reason for this character to be gay, because if this is a commentary, then make it a commentary. If it's not a commentary, why do that? There
Hmm.
just doesn't seem to be, because then all you're doing is throwing around a bunch of racial slurs in 2005, which might have been funny, but
I
back
mean,
then, but they're certainly not funny now.
once again, all of this was back then. That's the thing for this thing. Period. This movie, is that like we're talking about it now as if like this was made last, last month, But the truth is, this was made in 2005. In 2005, things were a lot different. We didn't have the Me Too situation. We
Right.
had um we had the Weinstein sticking their nose into things that they had no business sticking their nose in, because they think they know everything. Well, they don't. Filmmakers should be allowed to do things and maybe test audiences need to be approved, but like, a lot of times just leave things be, don't fuck it up. And I feel like this movie was fucked up,
But we'll never know. I mean, maybe the original version is worse. There's a reason why, like 95% of this movie was reshot. I would, there's no way of comparing it until you see the original version. It's kind of like that film Jonah Hex. I read the script for that, and the script's over 2 hours, and the movie was over 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And they cut it down to like 90 minutes or less. So the movie makes absolutely no sense.
Yep.
So was the film that bad at 2 hours that they had to cut it down to 90 minutes and just hope to make some money back? Or is the 90-minute version actually better? I mean, is this version of Cursed better than the original? I tend to doubt it.
Well, I guess the editor's got to get it out somehow, and even if he puts it on YouTube for free for everybody to see, I don't know if that's if that could be a copyright issue or not, but like, it's, whatever way we could do it, because I would love to see the original, like what they tried to do differently, and why it didn't work, but maybe it did work. I don't know. It would always be good to have both versions. I always love, like, even if I don't like it. So, to go back to like Kevin Smith, Mallrats, one of my favorite films of all time. Like, I absolutely adore that movie. That had Kevin does not call it a producer's cut. He calls it like a something other cut, like it was the first cut of the movie,
like an assembly cut is
it was like the first cut, right? And they, it was what he gave to the studio, and the studio was like, whoa, the biggest problem that they said was like, it's called Mallrats, and you don't get to the mall for 30 minutes of the movie, like you need to cut
and
that.
I would agree with that. I've seen that version. It was on like that anniversary disc, and I actually agree with the studio with that. Yeah,
I agree with the studio with that too. It's not Gramercy Pictures. They were just making sure, and totally, because and honestly, that original stuff is not that funny. But Kevin doesn't view that. He views whatever comes out as his director's cut. Like that's the cut. That he's proud of. You know what I mean? Because he wouldn't. If he was really proud of the other one, he would have fought for that, stuff, and he would have, what I mean, and everything. So he would have, but I like that there is that cut available for me to watch. Right now,
there should be those cuts available. Yeah, or at least preserved. Like Halloween 6. It's good that somebody saved that producer's cut.
Empire Records had like the biggest problem I have with that was like one of their DVDs or something had the director's cut, like where it had all the extra stuff cut back in, and I thought, oh my god, this is terrible, like I hate it. Then and so I didn't like it. It was just not very good. The Warriors did the same thing where they don't give you the other cut,
like with the comic books in it. And I didn't like that either.
Well,
sometimes
it was
sometimes
cool
it works
idea.
and sometimes it doesn't. But you should be able to still get both.
Right. That's my thing. And like it shouldn't be one or the other, or if there is one or the other, you still sell the other one. That the version I like, it should be on Blu-ray as well, but then they don't put it out on Blu-ray because the other one, the director's cut, didn't do very well, and the director's cut didn't do very well because the other one wasn't on it.
Well, and that's where I think Scream Factory, they could do both versions, but obviously that there's copyright issues or whatever it is, so they couldn't do it. I think if they could, they would have. They actually did that with the Forbidden World. And that was DVD, not Blu-ray, where they had one disc was the theatrical cut, kind of like Roger Corman's cut. And then the director actually he transferred the original film onto VHS and kept it because he knew that Corman wanted to have the movie cut, like remove all the humor. and then they were able to take that VHS tape and transfer it onto a DVD. So now both films you could see, and I wish that more people would do that.
I do too. But whatever. Anyway, I just wish that this had the other cut.
Yeah.
Just so we could see it, and whether or not it was good or bad, we can make our judgment, on it. And maybe there was some good things in there that they tried to throw in the other one, and kind of mush it together, or whatever, and it didn't work,
it's very unfortunate, because when I heard that, Kevin Smith and Wes Craven were teaming up to do a werewolf movie, I was excited, and K&B working on it. Did I say Kevin Smith?
Yeah.
Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson were teaming up to make a werewolf film. I was excited, especially when you have
K&B.
K&B on it. You also got Rick Baker's listed on the back here. You got a bunch of people. I mean, that CGI werewolf looks like shit. I mean, it's maybe for 2005, that was the best they could do, but man, did it look like crap. But then the actual live action one, the physical one, looked pretty good. And that's the one that has Derek Mears, in it.
I watched it on HBO Max, and I always remember when she was saying the nasty stuff about about Judy Greer, to get Judy Greer to come out. I always remember flipping her off, but I don't remember seeing it in the HBO Max version or something, like her getting mad and flipping off. And I always thought that was the best part of the movie to me, was seeing a werewolf flip off somebody, because I'd never seen that before. But did you see this? Did you rewatch it? Did you? Yeah,
because I watched I watched this version of it, so it's in there. Yeah.
Okay, I have to rewatch it again, I guess, or whatever. You watched it twice, so I didn't watch it twice. I only watched. Yeah,
because I watched it twice. One, because I was tired, and I kept falling asleep near the end, like before the big fight at the Museum of something. Museum of Horror Movies, whatever this thing was.
Tinsel Town.
What? Okay. And why this would have a grand opening or whatever, I have no idea, because
it's basically like a wax museum,
But who's Jake Taylor? I mean, that's Joshua Jackson. It's never established that he's like this world famous guy that's opening up this museum. I mean, it's not like he's Stan Winston or Rick Baker or somebody, or Rob Bottin, where you would be excited.
Universe,
but it's never brought up. It's never like, oh, I'm so tired, I'm world famous, and now I'm opening up this museum. Instead, he's just some moody guy who talks quiet. Like, why would Christina Ricci be interested in this guy at all? It is beyond me. But it's I mean, I guess it's a good set piece for the ending of the movie, for them fighting.
Yeah. Which wasn't the ending of the movie, and I felt like that's where.
Yeah, it has two endings.
It should have just ended there. That should have been the ending. Then they go on with their normal lives or whatever. But I think my biggest problem with the movie period was the ending, two endings. So the false ending of you think everything's over. All they had to do was check their hand. And say,
and this kind of follows the Faculty. Once we destroy the main bad guy, we all go back to normal. Right. And in The Curse, it was the same thing. Once we destroy the big bad werewolf, everything goes back to normal. So the dog is normal, their hands are normal, everybody that was a werewolf is normal. Well, I guess except for Judy Greer, she got shot in the head. But it's almost like Kevin Williamson is almost like repeating himself here.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing though. If you kill the queen or whatever, or the one that in this case the werewolf that bitch that well, it was supposed to be the werewolf that started it all or whatever, I guess, the one that caused all this trouble to begin with and stuff. But then where does that end really? Because it's shouldn't it start with his parents who created him? Or
I guess it's whoever he bites, and he says that he was born into this. So I guess one of his one of his
hated that.
parents was a werewolf or both. And so then they had sex and gave birth to a baby werewolf. So he's had to deal with this his entire life. And then Judy Greer talks about the night that she had hot sex with him. Okay, was she scratched? Did she get bitten? You know, how did she become it?
Like, he didn't even, oh, she said no. It was like an STD, I guess, you know.
Yeah, because she goes, like there wasn't a condom used. So now you can become a werewolf through sex. So did he have sex with Christina Ricci then? Because she said that, no, we've only been dating for a few months. Well, a few is 4, like 3 to 4 months.
And you would imagine that they would have had sex by then or something.
Right.
And all the other girls he's probably banged, why didn't they become werewolves?
Yeah, because he said that's my past. And apparently he's the hot thing on the, on Hollywood Boulevard.
Like, it's not like he's a virgin, so like,
right.
I mean,
well, and that's another thing. So at the beginning, when Christina Ricci and Jesse Eisenberg, when they get like scratched or bitten or whatever. So I get that the werewolf, who I guess is supposed to be Judy Greer, is pulling Elizabeth Shannon out of the car, or Shannon Elizabeth out of the car. Jesse gets scratched. Okay, because he's close. But then how does Christina Ricci get scratched? Because then she gets scratched on the arm.
Yeah. That shit I didn't even like at all, because none of it made any sense. You're supposed to get bitten by a werewolf and get turned, basically. The scratching of a werewolf doesn't fucking turn you, it just scratches you.
Well, remember, American Werewolf in London, he gets scratched.
I thought he got bit.
I think he's scratched.
I thought his friend. I just watched that. I thought it was he was bit by the werewolf.
I think he was scratched. I think he was like scratched and pushed down, and then that's when the werewolf went for his friend Jack, and Jack got ripped up, I think.
Hold on, because then why didn't he turn into a werewolf?
Well, he can. Jesse Eisenberg, he can.
No, I'm saying why didn't in American Werewolf in London, why didn't Griffin Dunn's character Jack get turned if he got mauled by the werewolf?
Oh, because he was just dead. He was just too dead. He was just destroyed. Yeah, he was just ripped to shreds. So there was no reason, because you would imagine that probably the werewolf bit him and scratched him and just destroyed him. But then with the Dr. Pepper guy, that he was, I think he was just scratched on his chest.
Hold on, I'm looking this up because I always knew it as you had to be bitten by a werewolf to turn into a werewolf. That was always been the I mean, that
might be vampire, that you have to be bitten by a vampire to turn.
No, it's werewolf and bear. In London, hold on. In London. Okay, hold on.
Okay,
you're right. He gets scratched. He gets him across the face,
across his chest or something. Yeah, he gets.
Nice. So maybe. God damn it, man. See,
but my problem with that is, like, I get Jesse Eisenberg because he's close. He's trying to pull her back, but then she's holding him. Christina Ricci's holding him by his legs. So unless the vampire is like Mr. Fantastic and could stretch the arm, how did she get scratched here? I figured maybe that was from the car. That she got scratched. I thought
so too, and also. I thought because she does hold she has her like thing in a little she's all wrapped up and everything,
right,
when she goes to work, but also if you follow the whole lore of werewolves, once you become the werewolf, once you like be scratched or whatever, I thought it was bitten, but I guess it's different for different movies and different stuff, so if you get scratched by the werewolf or whatever, once you look back at it, it's gone. The mark, like the scratch is gone. You're healed, because the whole point of being the werewolf is that you're able to heal really quick, but I don't know. This movie didn't really follow the normal shit with werewolves. And you're right,
No.
she was never scratched. Maybe Jesse Eisenberg scratched her, or whatever, but I don't think so. I think,
well, yeah, because he comments about that with the dog. Like the dog licked his wound, so then the dog became infected.
I thought that was
Zipper,
the weirdest thing. I've never
Zip.
seen a dog actually become a werewolf, so I thought that was really strange. That was the first time I've ever seen that happen.
I mean, that I kind of liked. It looked crappy. The CGI didn't look very good, but it's like, I like the idea of the dog being. I mean, I'm glad they didn't kill the dog. I'm glad the dog came back to normal.
Yeah.
But because the dog is being a dog, it doesn't know. But other stuff in here just doesn't make a ton of sense. I mean, what a coincidence that the gypsy, Zella, who's Porta de Rossi's character, just happens to be auditioning for a gypsy.
I think she was. I think she was just there to go talk to Christina Ricci's character. Like, that's the whole time. But then I'm like,
see, I got no that she didn't know until she entered the room, and then she could feel like, oh crap, I better go talk to her. And for some reason, she's trying out for this role. I mean, what a coincidence that happened to be.
Yeah,
it's not a good movie. It's just it's very much a letdown. And granted, not everything from every writer and director can be gold.
Well, I think Wes Craven was really trying to, and Kevin Williamson was really trying to recreate Scream again and give us another trilogy. That was the original plan. This was going to be a trilogy of werewolf movies. The same way as they gave us Scream. It failed. It bombed so bad that they had to go back to Scream 4 because thank God they did. But you know what I mean? Because like it's just like, where would they have gone with this? Would it just been focused on Christina Ricci and Jimmy going on to another, going on and meeting another werewolf? I mean,
yes, because it would have been, my guess would be Fright Night Part 2, the original Fright Night Part 2. That it would be Joshua Jackson's character, Jake, has a twin sister that's never brought up, and she's had this curse since born, and then she goes after Christina Ricci and Jesse Eisenberg for the death of Jake.
That would have kind of been cool. I would have been that. And then it would have been like that Jimmy and her maybe end up dating. So it's kind of switches from, Christina Ricci's character to Jesse Eisenberg's character dating each other. And then all of a sudden he's the one that's bringing this monster into this world, like, to their world and stuff. And then she's trying to get her revenge. I would be okay with that. Like, it just,
well, and one of them is to do the sequel says, hey, I'm a big star now, so I'll only be in the movie if I die. So then at the very end of the movie, the sister werewolf, from Jake, the twin sister, doesn't die. We think she dies, and at the end gives birth to their baby. And when it comes out, it's all hairy with fangs.
That would be great. I would see, we're writing sequels that should exist. That should be a podcast, writing sequels that should exist.
Cursed da.
Yeah. Cursed part, from curse to curse,
that's this film just confuses me, because if it is an allegory for something, it just does such a bad job. If it's just meant to be like It Follows is, an allegory for AIDS. If this is an allegory for something, it just does a bad job. If it's just meant to be a werewolf movie, it also does a bad job. So it's kind of like all around, it just does a bad job.
Yeah, it's terrible. Oh well, you know what? We watched it, we reviewed it. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever watch it again or not, but I like, it's taken me forever because I always remember I hated this movie, and in fact, I was looking forward to watching it because I remember hating it so much that I was like, I want to see why I hated it, and maybe if like my thoughts have changed, like that, because I forgot about this. Like I forgot the fairy line until I realized he was going to become a wrestler again, and I actually remembered that line. I was like, there's the fairy line in this randomly in the movie. If this movie had fairies in it, that would have been awesome.
Fairy werewolves.
Just
Werewolf fairies, they could have wings on them. Well, and that's the thing, is that I think that with Jimmy, that it was just a missed opportunity, because his character even says, in it, like, wait a minute, because when he's reading all those books, he's like, stronger, faster, a better sense. There's like a sexual appeal. And he's like, I could live with that. Well, take advantage of that. All he does is go and take revenge on his bully. Why is
even at first he's not even doing that? Like that wasn't like from the get-go, he wasn't like, I'm gonna go and just beat this bully up now, because he's not a bully, I guess. The whole idea is he's not a bully, but he's protecting himself against the bullies, and he's trying to show them that he's not going to be bullied anymore, right?
Right.
So he does the wrestling stuff, and at first he sucks. He's a terrible wrestler.
Well, he's got to figure it out. He's got to, because he's not a wrestler. So that's why a lot of times you see these guys get hit in the face a couple of times, or they go down to the ground, and they're trying to figure out the moves. So they're 1, 2, or 3 times that they look like, oh shit, they're going to get defeated. Then they pop back up and beat the crap out of the guy. Yep. Because it takes 2 or 3 times to kind of figure out how they move and how it works, and and all that stuff. You don't want to go into it with the guy instantly knowing. Right. You want him to take a little bit of a beating before he comes back.
Right.
But nobody calls him a bully.
He's not a bully. He's sticking up for himself.
Right. But at that point, he wasn't. He caused this. He purposely went to wrestling. He purposely stood next to the girlfriend that he likes. He purposely took on the other guys. And nobody had a problem with him kicking their ass, which is fine if they're school bullies.
Did you notice at the end, when it switched over to the girl all of a sudden dating Jesse Eisenberg, and like how cool she was with the fact that now her boyfriend is now gay? And like,
yeah, and he had no problem with it. It was just, I mean, she went right over to Jimmy pretty fast. I mean, so maybe she knew, maybe she's just like, I knew I was dating this guy.
Maybe he told her, and maybe he was just telling her like, look, we're together because I don't want anybody to know I'm gay, or
I don't think so. No, I think he was just playing the tough guy, and I think he knew he was gay.
Right, he knew it.
And then he was picking on the other guy to be like, oh, look, I'm a tough guy, I'm straight, I'm the cis white male that, I'm not gay. And then also, of course,
why did he go into just trying to kiss the dude? Like, that annoyed me.
Because he says it takes a gay to know a gay.
I know, I understand that. But okay, so just realize, so say you knew you were straight, but you pretended you were gay, the exact opposite or whatever, pretended you were gay, and then you realized you were straight, and you kind of told somebody you thought was straight, right? Like, a girl or whatever, and you're like, the first thing you do is try to go in and kiss them? No, like, period. Like, that's no, especially now, this movie that could not be done because consent. But it's the idea that like you don't just go in to kiss somebody. Like, somebody has to, like, it has to be like that romantic feeling between both of them, and he was.
I guess he's taking a chance that because that's what he's saying. Oh, you're gay, that's why I'm gay. I haven't seen you with any men or women, so I'm going to make a move on you so we could be a couple.
That's weird.
And Jesse Eisenberg is like, no. I'm straight. I'm straight.
Which is so funny because I don't know. I think Jesse Eisenberg, sometimes when I see some of the roles he does, I'm like, is that guy, is he potentially gay or bi or something? I don't know. Like, I don't know him personally offhand. He might be married with some woman, but I don't know. And sometimes even then you don't know. Like, some people pretend.
Yeah. Oh, Rock Hudson is the most famous celebrity for that. So
for years, nobody knew Neil Patrick Harris was gay, as far as I remembered hearing. And then all of a sudden, it's like, right? He just came right out.
Best thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah. Because I mean,
well, it was Harold and Kumar. When he's sniffing the cocaine off a hooker's stomach while he's standing in the sunroof of the limousine, that I believe made him like who he is. And then he came out, and that just helped. But everybody loved Doogie Howser sniffing cocaine off a hooker's stomach.
Right.
We thought was hilarious, and then it was that he came out. And then everybody's like, oh, that's even more awesome. And now he is who he is today, and which is probably why I'm guessing why he was in, Matrix Resurrections is, because of the whole trans thing and everything of what the, Lana is now saying that the Matrix is all about. But, believe that or not, but it's, yeah. So I don't
have anything to say about that because I don't like the Matrix,
I'm one of those people who loved Matrix Resurrections, so absolutely loved it.
I mean, look, more power to you.
I think it's going to be one of those movies because it came out at the same time as Spider-Man, and Spider-Man, made a ton of money, and Matrix did not. And I'm convinced that in like 5 years, people are going to look back like they always do and go, you know what, Matrix Resurrections was genius, and Spider-Man wasn't as good as we thot it was. So that's what I think.
Shut your hole. All right. Anyway, anywho, thank you for this. This is awesome. We did another longer video than what I was.
They're just going to be longer. We just have to accept that they're going to be they're going to be like an hour.
I know, because we can't really not talk about it, but we also talk about other stuff. But also these podcasts about this. Like, these are some more deeper stuff. We try to dive deeper into the what we liked or what we didn't like about it. I don't want to be one of those shows that just say this was, this sucked, this was great, this sucked, this was, you know what I mean? Like, right. I want to dive deep into why we like this or why we hated it.
Well, and that's what makes, I think, things interesting is if you were to talk about the original Night of the Living Dead, you have to talk about the social commentary that was out there at the time. You have to talk about Martin Luther King Jr. being assassinated. You have to talk about the Vietnam War. You have to talk about, Russia and communism and, stuff like that. It follows, more recently with, it being AIDS, it's just, you have to, these things are interesting to talk about. And that's why you gotta go deeper into something like this than, oh, this movie sucked or I loved it. You got to go into what is Cursed really about? Mm-hmm. Is this a commentary? Is it not a commentary? Is it just a werewolf movie? And I think that's interesting. Yeah. So, same thing with the faculty, with the faculty, when we reviewed that, they keep bringing up Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That was all about communism, when it originally came out, because it was written during the 50s. So it's like, what is the faculty about? Or is it just an alien invasion movie? And that's it. There is no commentary.
Most of my movies don't have commentary. I mean, I'm sorry. I just make things for pure entertainment. If I had something to say, I would say it, but most of the time it's just pure entertainment. Like, I enjoy making movies about what I like to make movies about, and I feel like every movie doesn't need commentary, doesn't need some kind of thing. But when they have it, I don't want it banging me upside the head with it. Like a lot of movies do these days, fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre being one of them, just where it's so obvious what they're trying to say and stuff. I like subtlety, in my stuff. And that's what was so great about the 90s and 80s and 70s, back in those days. They really did that. Nowadays, I feel like they think that the audience is so dumb that they need that. And that's bullshit, because audience are just getting smarter and smarter. And I feel like it's the writers who are just getting dumber about this, or something, or the studios that are just like, we have to make people dumber, we have to make, we have to spell everything out so people understand what we're saying. And that's bullshit. Fucking tell us the truth,
Well, yeah, that's why I think, like, Spider-Man No Way Home and Matrix, Resurrections, I think are two good examples of, Spider-Man is popcorn entertainment. There's nothing really to say. There's no commentary about it. It's just pure entertainment, while Resurrections does have something to say.
And that's great. I mean, if you want to have a movie that has something to say, but if you're making a movie just for popcorn's sake,
nothing wrong with that. We need that.
Yeah, I mean,
Jackass Forever is pure popcorn. That's all it is just to have fun and laugh and just have a good time, especially in the climate of things out there. Times you just need to laugh.
It's coming out at the right time. And I feel like they knew that, when they made that. So good for them. But you know what? Like Cursed, I don't think there was any commentary. I don't think there was anything. There was the whole homosexual shit, but I don't even think that was even. I don't even feel like that was saying anything. I feel like Kevin Williamson said everything he needed to say about homosexual repression or coming out when he did Dawson's Creek, and he had Jack be gay. When he did that, when he had those scenes, that was not something that was gonna So I just feel like Kevin Williamson sort of did it better earlier, personally. But, I would love to get Kevin Williamson on one of my shows and interview him, because I would fucking go nuts. I would ask him so many questions. Probably ones he don't want to answer, but I gotta know more about Cursed. I gotta know more about it. I gotta find out what was his, what was the truth behind it,
Right.
Why was this movie cursed?
Yeah. Why was Cursed?
Why was cursed? That should be like a whole documentary,
It could be. I mean, on this, it does have, there is some stuff on here. There's behind the things, the making of Cursed. Cursed effects, Cursed editing, becoming a werewolf.
Yeah, but see, those are all about like the making of it in a good way, and it like.
Yeah, it's going to be, because it's even like selected scene commentary with the effects artist and Derek Mears, and so yeah, it's going to be a fluff piece,
right?
It's not going to give us what we really need to know.
I don't know if Arrow did a whole new interview or new making thing. I'd love to hear that if they did. But or not Arrow, Scream Factory. Sorry, but Scream Factory should have put out a whole new documentary about why the Cursed of Cursed. Why and I would buy it based just mainly to see what the documentary about why this was not such a good movie. If I didn't have a million other projects going on, this would be something I'd be interested in trying to get funding for, is trying to get a documentary about this movie and making of this movie, or the making of how horrible this movie was. Sadly, we wouldn't be able to get Wes Craven's, opinions, but
right.
And I don't think we'll be talking to Harvey and Bob, no, but we'll be talking to everybody else about it and maybe find out more about it. That would be fun. I would love that. So if somebody wants to go make a documentary on Cursed, go do it. I say go fucking do it. So I would love to watch that, but I just don't have time to make it myself.
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you, John. This is awesome. Everybody, join us next week. Where we're not doing this yet, but we're going to be reviewing 2 more, Kevin Williamson movies, and they're going to be the last of the Kevin Williamson. That
we hope.
I don't know. Has he even done any other movies?
Well, I don't know. We did discuss possibly, 2 others that are related to him, but they don't have him in it. Yeah. I don't want to say what they are, but it still could go on. But it just matters how far we want to really take it. So
I do eventually want to do Urban Legends and Valentine and all the other slashers of that, 90s slasher teen screams, kind of thing. Those were some of my favorite movies of all time. So, I adore it. So it'd be fun. But by the way, real quick, before we end this, I forgot to mention Michael Rosenbaum. Love that guy. He was in the movie. He played the friend at work that was talking to her like pretty much the whole time at the Craig Kilborn show and everything.
Oh, I thought. I mean, I like him, but
Yeah.
he's just his character was just so sleazy.
Yeah.
And that was another weird moment. Is he obviously has a thing for Christina Ricci. They're in the museum during the whole attack. She thinks he may be the werewolf and goes, "Raise your hand." So he puts up his hand. There's nothing on it. She goes, "Your other hand." And then he doesn't do it. He's like, "Come on, you know why we're here. There's a creature running around. Why are we alluding to that it's him?" It's so poorly done when all he has to do is do this, and it's solved because he ends up dying anyways.
Yep.
Why are we doing this red herring thing where all of a sudden, oh no, and I know that's what it was. It was a red herring, but it's done so poorly.
Yep. But I would just say I love you, Michael Rosenbaum. You've got one of my favorite podcasts of all time that I adore. So Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, go listen to it. I will. That's one of the first times I've ever pimped another podcast on any of my podcasts. But other than John's, I pimp his stuff all the time. But aside from that, people that I work with or whatever, this is just somebody who's I actually just love their stuff and just keep doing what you're doing, Michael. You are great. You won't listen to this, so it doesn't matter. But
you never know.
You never know. But I adore Inside of You, and I loved him in this. It was so funny to see him. I was like, what is that fucking Lex Luthor in the fucking movie? That is so awesome. And he was in Urban Legends as well. So
yeah, that's right.
So he's such a he loves horror. So I bet it was a thrill. Like if I got to interview him, I'd ask him, about him working with Wes Craven. Like how fucking cool is that? So anyway, love you guys. Check out the podcast or the video. Next week for a whole brand new Mainstream Monday, everybody.
Well, now let me ask you one last question. Would you recommend Cursed? Would you actually tell people to go see it?
That's a good question. Because I wouldn't recommend it as in like this was a good movie. I would recommend it as in this was hold on. Wait for it. Train wreck. The movie Trainwreck, you can't see.
You got to put down right in front of you. There you go.
Trainwreck. It was a train wreck. It was terrible. It is a bad, poorly excuse for a film. But it had moments that were okay, didn't whatever, like it didn't bore me. Let's just say that. It was such a train wreck. I couldn't look away from it, So I would recommend it to see something that like, don't do this, Hollywood. Don't make a movie like this, that kind of thing. So if you want to watch something, but I wouldn't recommend it as in like this was a good movie. Like if this was on my stinkometer score, it would definitely be like a 9,
I would agree with that. I basically agree with everything you're saying. I think if I would probably give it a 9. It's not a 10 because it is watchable, but it's one of those moments. Yeah, if you're a fan of Wes Craven and you're a completist and you want to see everything he made, then watch it. Same thing with like Vampire in Brooklyn and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I don't think he's made a movie that I could not watch.
Right. But if you want to see a mess of a movie, if you want to see, like you mentioned, like it's a train wreck of a film, watch this and learn how not to make a werewolf movie, because there are much better movies out there done by lesser known people. What is it? Bad Moon by Eric Red is a better film,
Lichen Colony is not. Lichen is worse. Lichen Colony, terrible. But we reviewed that for Indie Film Cafe, or it's going to be a future review. So get ready for that. But
So yeah, so we both give this thumbs down. So
it's a thumbs down.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's a 9 on the stinkometer. It's high up there.
Yeah, I agree.
It's stinky, but it's and then like it's redeeming enough where it was watchable. We can hear it. The characters were not, the actors weren't bad, as you said. You like the actors. They did a good job playing their roles, but just was honestly, it's just, oh, and God, there's one last thing I forgot to mention that I've got to throw out there. The parking garage scene. I thought there was a werewolf, right? Coming after him. Can't the werewolf smell where the person is? Like,
I thought so, from the way that like Christina Ricci, like could smell the blood.
Right.
And she like went all the way like to the other side of the office.
So why was that? Why was the werewolf looking around and trying to find the person? Couldn't they just go, it's right there, and everything like that? Like I got the scene where the clicking the alarm and making alarm go off, and it frightens the person, makes them get upset. But usually that scares people away and makes them run away, because that's what animals do when they hear a loud, annoying noise. They freak out and run off. But that parking garage scene, I forgot about it, and it was terrible scene. Just this movie was just not great. Just
well, yeah, and how far off were the gypsies, predictions on that? Shannon Elizabeth died pretty much instantly, but then it took, Maya, like 45 minutes into the movie to die. So It's like, wow. I mean, your predictions came true, but wow.
You're both in grave danger. I mean, you can say that about anybody at any time.
Sure.
I'm going to be like, hey, John, you're in grave danger. And about
50, and then 5 years from now,
50 years from now,
you could say, see, I told you.
See, like
I am psychic.
I'm gonna be a gypsy now. I'm gonna go around and just tell everybody they're in grave danger, and then they can be like, when? I'm like,
Moody's palm reading.
You'll find out. Actually, I don't even like my own palm. I look it down at my palm and I'm like, what do these lines mean? Like it starts scaring me because they keep changing. Well,
that's they say the lines all mean something. So, long,
anyway.
Money, death, all that.
All right, we're done. All right, guys, for checking this out.
Thank you, everybody,
for a whole new Wes Craven mainstream not Wes Craven, but Kevin Williamson.
Yeah,
we're done with the Kevin Williamson Wes Craven movies. All right, have a good one, guys. Bye.
Bye.